So one other thing, there's a concern raised by our guest here, Mr. Chukwuma, about your working relationship with the army. During the last election, we saw what happened. He's concerned about how you intend to, how your persons, your personnel, being the lead agency, would receive the police, the army, and if the soldiers will be able to, you know, answer to your men when they get to the polling area, whether it's the perimeter or whatever. How do you respond to that?
Let me allay the fears of everybody, including those in the studio and those who are watching this program. We don't have any problem of coordination with the Nigerian military, and we don't expect to have any, even in tomorrow's election. We've got joint control rooms. For example, in Abuja here, we have officers from the Nigerian military sitting in our control room at the force headquarters. We also have officers from the Nigerian police force sitting in the military control room domiciled at their own headquarters. And so there's that very strong synergy at that level. And that's a very critical level, because that's where communication, all strands of communication as well as intelligence information are received, analyzed, and decimated. And at operational level, you've also noticed that almost all the suspects that the military arrested in the course of their operations as it relates to this election, they eventually transferred all those suspects and cases to the police. Most importantly is the fact that at the immediate voting areas, you don't find military operatives there. And so the issue of who controls the voting area does not even arise. The military patrol takes place outside the vicinity of the voting area. They man the highway, they man other areas, they man the larger outer areas. So the potential for conflict is almost zero. And because of the strong working relationship, the strong synergy, I don't expect, and there won't be any form of controversy or any form of conflict at all.
So well, barring any unforeseen contingency, that is, and we hope that that is what will happen. But then, looking at the deployment now, how many security personnel are the voters to expect at each polling unit?
The standard security operation is that you have at least 2 security agents working together. We intend to have a minimum of 3 security agents per police center, and that will also be determined again by the distance between one police center and the other. So when you have a collection of police centers that are localized in an area, it makes the provision of security for those centers even easier and more flexible. But generally, we are working towards having a minimum of 3 security operatives at a polling center or at a voting center.
Well, Frank, you know, the last elections, there were some cases that some residents were of the impression that there were some police officers who perhaps may have colluded with some politicians to allow certain things happen. So does the police have that mechanism? Because I don't know if it's, you know, put out there to notify the public that if they suspect any police officer who is culpable in any way, they can report them to the police themselves, can they? And what's the procedure?
Well, Chamberlain, I think this is just a very wild imagination, because You know, Nigeria's society has become a very sophisticated world. There is virtually nothing that happened in the last election that was not captured either on video or on still pictures. If there were indeed police officers who were colluding or who were engaging in illegitimate acts, I can bet you Nigerians would have captured them on their cameras. Nigeria would have sent them out to us. Probably by now the pictures or the videos would have gone viral. But having said that, I want to tell Nigerians, if you see something, certainly you have a right to say something. And one of those who have also encouraged Nigerians, apart from those restricted areas where we say, where INEC has designated no photo areas and no video areas. And of course, we know why. We don't expect people who, once you get to the secluded area, to the private area where you are casting your vote, where you are tampering, we don't expect you to use your phone, we don't expect you to take pictures or to do any form of videoing. But outside that area, I will encourage Nigerians, feel free to take pictures of things that are happening that are beautiful, and also feel free to take pictures and make videos of things that are happening that are ugly. These are some of the ways we can hold our personnel, our systems accountable. They will promote transparency, they will promote accountability, not just on the part of the police, but on the part of other public officials and even politicians themselves. We've also seen in the past, for example, some of the suspects were arrested and some of the investigations that are ongoing as relates to electoral offenses. Some of those videos and pictures have come handy. Some of them have formed the bulk of the evidences or the strands of evidence that we're analyzing. So beyond that also, it will also help in naming and shaming people who are trying to mess up our electoral system. So people should feel free to gather evidence. People should feel free to broadcast them and send them to not just the media, but also to the police force.
You know, Mr. Frank, but a lot of people, especially the pessimists, may just disagree with you to an extent, because they'll be asking, what then do you make of the scenario that played out during the presidential elections at Okota, Agbo Palace Way? We had just one policeman there. How can you explain that?
Well, what happened in Okota is that the situation, or rather the incident that took place at Okota is currently under investigation. And until that investigation is concluded conclusively, I will not be able to speak much on it. But I can also tell you there are 2 persons that are in our custody, and there are some other persons who are also currently on our wanted list in relation to what took place or what transpired at Okota. The picture also of the policeman that you saw resisting attempt by hoodlums to disrupt the electoral process, I think there are positives out of it, and we should be focusing on that positive rather than at every time looking at things from the negative perspective. You could see that police officer standing his ground, and I think such police officers should be singled out and described as heroes of democracy rather than us always looking at negatives. We should look at positives. You should applaud that police officer. We should look at the kind of courage he displayed, the kind of professionalism he displayed. But having said that, everything relating to what transpired at Okota is under investigation. And I want to reassure you that we've put adequate measures in place to ensure that such incidences don't repeat themselves in the next election.
Yes, Mr. Frank, everybody is a friend to the police, and everybody will want to get as much information to you as possible. But the question is, why was that policeman alone?
That video alone cannot answer that question. That police officer, there could have been 3 or more police officers there. There could have been other incidences or incidents that could have happened and they are responding to them. They could have been just by the corner tackling some other hoodlums. And that video, or whoever was videoing, making out that video, was not able to capture all the situations at the same time. So there are so many scenarios, there's so many hypotheses you could have painted or you could make out of it. And until you do a proper investigation, it will be hasty to reach a conclusion.
All right, then, Frank, about Force Public Relations Officer, we do appreciate your talking to us today on the verdict. So we'll go to break in a moment now, but we'll come back and continue our focus on what to expect, building on what Mr. Mba has highlighted in a moment. Stay with us.